Being silly.
I like that hat.
Like the hat. Just a little artist there.
Was that at the fair?
So, yes, I would go to the state fair all the time, and they would have like the children's area activities, so I'd be always running over there to do those. I can remember like my first art class I took at the Arts Institute in Edmond. So like my parents put me in classes when I was in like 2nd and 3rd grade.
Cool.
And so I was like, this is what I want to do. I'm like, I love it. But yeah, that's my earliest memory was definitely like 3 at like the fair and like.
What would you say, or how did you develop your art style, or what would you say is your art style?
My art style? As far as art style goes, I feel like I probably mesh a lot of different styles. Primarily, I would say abstract, like expressionism, mixed with like ideas of surrealism and psychedelic concepts.
I always think that your art looks super like dreamy.
Dreamy.
Like I would see it in a dream.
Like ethereal.
Ethereal, that's a good word too.
Transcendent, or like...
Yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
What's your inspiration? Where do you get that?
Lots of inspiration. Lots of different places. I think honestly some of my earliest inspiration was like my dad collected National Geographics, and I would just like be flipping through and just seeing all kinds of imagery that was like clicking an idea of inspiration. But like as far as inspiration nowadays, I feel like I get a lot of ideas from just how we evolve and change over time as human beings, and like how that affects our everyday, and what kind of feelings that brings us. So when I'm working, I feel like I'm very much going through like a cycle of life, whether I'm sad or mad, or going through different phases and feelings of change. But also inspiration that comes from like metamorphosis, like things changing,
which has to do with nature as well.
Right, so nature, insects, and how they change their shape and form, and also fashion. I'll get a lot of inspiration from fashion and like color and pattern. What else? Photography. Like I'll dabble in photography, so a lot of my work comes from like some of the fragments I take from my photography, and I will incorporate it in collage elements in some of my work.
Cool. So it's like piecing together of different materials.
Right.
What medium do you use most frequently? So you're a mixed media artist. I know you have a lot of different elements. Is there a medium that you use most frequently?
That is a tricky question because when I'm in the art zone, like it's spread out all over the floor. It is spread out all over every table in my art studio. And it's usually collage elements. Like, so I'll print out a photograph that I've taken and like cut out symmetrical designs from it and lay it down on the floor. And I might already have like color laid out on a canvas, usually acrylic paint laid out on the canvas first, or like a wash that I've done with like ink, and done like a dry brush over. So I just kind of start laying out these collage fragments on the canvas. Cool. And kind of see where it takes me from there. But I'm enjoying working with clay and incorporating that on canvas as well as like wire and resin. Yeah, lots of different things.
Cool.
Dry plants.
Do you have a favorite medium that you like to use?
My favorite medium, I want to say, is working with, right now is clay, honestly.
Cool.
And I've been developing, like, working with clay and resin on canvas. So that's kind of been what I've been interested in lately.
Nice. What does art mean to you?
Okay, art.
Gonna get
what
deep.
Does art mean to me? Gosh, it has lots of different meanings. I think for one, I'm a school teacher. I'm an art teacher, so it's what I've chosen to make a living off of. So it's got to be something that I like. So because I spend a lot of time on it, like I can't really picture my life without it. Like, what does it mean to me?
Life.
Breathing,
life.
survival. I mean,
cool.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give to a new artist that's just starting out?
As far as new artists go, honestly, I'd probably tell a new artist the same thing I'd tell my art students at school. It would be that you should always embrace the imperfections in your work and not be afraid of making messes. Because really those mistakes are going to guide you ultimately to something super magical that you're going to discover on your own. And that's going to help create your style and your originality. And also to always create for yourself first and foremost, because I know like some people like they choose art for creating art as their living and their money making, but like that, to me, you lose the joy of like creating if that's the end goal is to sell. I think it should always be about the feeling you get when you are creating. Like ultimately you're creating for you, to feel sane sometimes. Like for me at least, I'm creating to numb out and like get rid of like that inner dialogue that's not always good for me to be saying to myself. Like art is like the zone that I want to be in. Like I'm not thinking about anything else but just what I'm putting on the canvas. So yeah.
So Kristina, I noticed that this piece up here has some sewing elements.
Yeah, it does.
I think that's really interesting. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So I call this one the Doodles at the Museum. So I used to work at the Oklahoma City Museum of Art as like a gallery guard per se. So I did a lot of people watching and just got to stand around and protect art all day. So I would doodle a lot. And so yeah, I would bring in a little sketchbook. And so a lot of the outside areas of that is doodled on a very tiny little piece of paper, which I then ended up going to this cool printmaking class in New Mexico with this artist called Ron Picrasso, and he showed us that really cool solar plate process where you can blow up an image on a transparency, like with black transparency ink. You transfer it onto the solar plate, and it etches into this plate from the sun, and then you can roll out the ink on that solar plate and then print it. So I printed a tiny sketch on a very big piece of paper from a solar plate, and then this piece transformed into lots of different collage elements from pieces that I've made throughout the years. I've got a silkscreen print, that little like self-portrait of me, like the side body. It's a little screen print. And then you're right, I embellished it a lot with yarn and string, which I wove through in and out of the big piece of Arches 88 paper.
Cool.
And then there's some collage elements. In the printmaking process, you call it chincolle, like where you...
Fancy.
I know, it's like French. But you put it through the press, and have the ink press on top of the collage elements. So yeah, I did all the collage elements underneath before I did like the yarn stitch work on top. So
okay. Lots of layers.
So lots of layers. But yeah, that's me. I love to work in layers. So yeah.
Like an onion.
Yeah, like an onion or a cake. Love it.
Getting some Shrek elements.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
Cool. Is there anything else that you want people to know about your art or your show?
A lot of it's from like the pandemic year until now. So you'll probably see like a progression in mediums. So you'll see a lot of the newer works will have resin over it, which has been kind of an expensive hobby.
Yes.
But I've really enjoyed it. I like the shiny effects.
Yes.
But yeah, I have a variety of different things really. I'll have resin works that are more of like wall hanging pieces that you can put in a window. I'll have some clay shelves that have small trinkets on it that have like wire hanging down and chains. And I even have a couple like spooky themed things that I made out of clay recently.
Cool.
Yeah, so really a range of price range for me.
And you have jewelry too, which I'm wearing some Kristina Haden earrings.
I did. I enjoyed making a lot of earrings the last couple of years out of resin and drilling with my Dremel tool to make those chain connections and wearable art. And hopefully I'm hoping to get some shirts done. My emphasis in college was actually printmaking, so hand carving, which I will have. One of my biggest ever that I've made is a 28 by 28 inch wood carving, which I had done for the steamrolling event this last time.
Yes.
So I've been kind of playing with that. And I do have a little print of it, but I'll have the original, the big piece, and I might even bring the wood carving just to kind of give people an idea.
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
Like. Yeah.
Well, so Kristina's show will be Saturday. Kristina's show will be Saturday, September 23rd, here at Mycelium Gallery from 5 to 8. Come and join us and look at some dreamy art, mixed media art. And we will also have a closing reception for Paisley Strange's show on Saturday, September 16th. So come out and enjoy some local arts and get to know the artists. And Kristina will be
I'll be coming by
and she will have her art up as well, so you can see the transition from the last spotlight artist to now spotlight artist.